Yo, what's good, guys? It's Andrew from travelingguitarist.com. Just woke up about an hour ago, 6:35 a.m. I might be stuttery today, but without further ado, let's talk about what this video is about today. Can guitar strings cut your fingers? Man, I've played the guitar for 15 years now, and this kind of problem, like I haven't thought about it in a while, but it's clear that many people are wanting to know about it, so I figured I would touch on it. Um, I think out of the 15 years I've played, I think maybe I've pricked my finger on the guitar end, the guitar string end, or wrapped around the tuning post. I think I pricked my finger maybe twice, maybe three times out of maybe the 500,000 times that I've picked up my guitar. So I would say that in general, like this is not something that you should be spending your time worrying about. With that in mind, however, you want to make sure you take your time. Don't be silly. Just take your time when you're stringing up the guitar and you're cutting the ends off and whatnot. Um, but in general, this isn't something that you should be too worried about. So, you know, as I said here, while it's certainly possible to cut your fingers on the guitar, the chances of it actually happening are extremely low with a few exceptions. Now, in terms of like cutting your fingers on the guitar strings because they're so thin, that's not going to happen. Um, However, as I just mentioned at the beginning of the video, right at the beginning, is that like you can prick your fingers on the ends that are sticking out, like these things right here. I don't know if you can see the ends here. Like you can prick your fingers on those, and yes, it does kind of hurt. There's a lot of blood and nerves in the end of your fingertips, so it kind of does bother you a little bit. But that's about all you really have to worry about. Like you're not going to cut your fingers like playing the guitar, like actually fretting the instrument strings. You're not going to cut your fingers that way. Now, you will when you're first starting out, you will not have the calluses on your fingers, so there's going to be no calluses on your fingers, so there's going to be no resistance. So it might actually hurt your fingers for the first 2 weeks, depending on how much you play. However, I would argue that typically, it takes about 2 weeks to get those calluses built up, maybe even less if you're playing for an hour a day. Like if you play for a week or two for an hour every single day, I mean, you're going to have the calluses built up in no time. For like 1 or 2 days, your fingers will be sore, and then after that, the calluses will be there. It's kind of like going to the gym and deadlifting and stuff like that. Like you're going to have the calluses on your hands after a few days of doing that. So it just, that's going to be a problem that is only there for a few days. Um, so let's just talk about a few things that you can do to avoid this problem of, hurting your fingers. Um, well, first thing, before we explore all that, let's talk about some of the tools that you need. For one, you should get a pair of these bad boys, pliers. I would recommend getting a pair like this. I wouldn't recommend getting the wire cutters. I mean, wire cutters are superior. However, pliers like these are more versatile. You can use them for a number of different things around your house. And you want to get a pair that has the wire cutter added function, which you can see pointed out right here. You want to get some of these. I'm sure you can get them at, on Amazon for $5 or something. Um, I also would recommend getting a string winder. This is not really related to pricking your fingers, but if you don't have Spurzl locking tuners or another kind of tuner, another kind of locking tuner, I mean, I would recommend getting the string winder. That way you can quickly wind them up. It makes it a lot faster. Um, and I guess a consequence of that is that a lot more, you're going to be a lot less impatient because it's not going to take you so much time to actually wind the strings up. So if you're more patient and more relaxed in the manner in which you're going about this, then there's a less chance that you're gonna hurt your fingers. Another thing that I've seen someone do before is you take the rubber eraser at the end of a pencil and you cut it off, and then they stick it on the ends of the guitar string. That's a little much for me. I mean, you really don't need to do that, but I've seen people do it, and you could do it. If this is really something that you're worried about, I mean, you could do that. I don't do it. I've never done it, but people do it. Some people do it. Usually people who are new to the instrument because, once you play the guitar for 10 years, this kind of thing is kind of far from your mind. Not to be condescending, but you just realize that the chance of you pricking your fingers or cutting them is pretty low, so you don't really waste your time with that stuff anymore. But, you know, if it's something you're concerned about, you know, go ahead and do it. I don't judge you. Um, so yeah, as I kind of just briefly mentioned, yeah, so you want to take your time whenever you're wrapping your strings around the tuning posts. The tuning posts are these things right here. And you just take your time, take it easy. I mean, chill, make sure you got enough time to do it. Typically takes 15 to 20 minutes, maybe 10 to 15. And what I like to do is I actually tuck the ends underneath the strings. This isn't a good example, so I'll go down here. So you can see the way these loose ends are tucked underneath a string. That kind of just minimizes the chance of actually pricking your fingers. Also, you know, make sure you cut these ends off. You know, make them fairly short. I would say a centimeter. If they're like an inch long and they're just hanging out all over the place, you know, obviously there's a bigger chance of you cutting your fingers or pricking them. And also consider getting Spurzle locking tuners. I have a pair of Spurzle locking tuners on my ESP. Not really a pair. I guess it's like a whatever the word is, a 6-tuplet or whatever. I love them, man. I think they're great. The Spurzle locking tuners are dope. They really make putting the strings on the guitar quick and easy. It's almost like a 5-minute process instead of a 20-minute process. I think they're great. So yeah, I mean, that's really all you need to worry about, you know? Just take your time, cut the ends off, tuck them underneath the strings while you're done. When you're done, excuse me. And I guess if you really wanted to, you could use the rubber erasers from pencils. However, you have to ask yourself if you really want to destroy 6 pencils every time you string your guitar. But anyway, that's all for this video. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace.